Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2025 Forest River Surveyor 267Rbss. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. And if you notice up top, you're pre-mounted for an observation camera. You're also pre-mounted for a lipper collapsible stair system. The lipper collapsible stair system, especially for you, is going to be pretty crucial. It'll allow you to easily get up to your roof so you can periodically clean off those solar panels. And of course, then that gives you the opportunity to give all your seals a good check, which you do have to do periodically. If you'd like to get set up with either of those, it is as simple as contact your parts department, and they'd be more than happy to help you out. And then just located at the rest of the back here, you got your spare tire and your 2-inch receiver. Just keep it in mind, there's a 300-pound weight capacity when it comes to that receiver, so it's realistically just for a small bike rack. And then you do have your stabilizer jack control for the rear here. They are electric stabilizer jacks. You got the rear set on this switch. There's gonna be another set on your passenger side for the front set, and I'll go over that once we get there. I'll show you that once we get there. The switches do both work the same. I'm just gonna go over the rears. So first, it is very crucial that you do level the unit, as these are stabilizing jacks. They're not leveling jacks. They're not made to level the unit. You run the risk of bending them if you do so. If you push and hold that extend button, the feet are gonna start making their way down. Now, just keep it in mind, it's an open gear system. So sometimes they may come down at different paces, just as long as you're not making any weird noises or bad noises. Just keep on going with that button. Once the feet contact the ground, you're going to hear the motors wind up a little bit, and that is when you can let off the button. Just being careful if those feet are the way they were, so you don't want to bend them, so you heard the motors wind up so they're at their full extension. Now you could go do the front set. Of course, to retract them, it's just as simple as holding that retract button. The feet are going to make their way up once the feet do contact the bottom of the trailer. Again, the motors are going to wind up and quit, so you can just let off the button. So you heard those motors wind up, so now that's all the way up. So now we will continue on to the driver's side of the unit. First things first is your standard 50 amp twist lock connection. You're taking note of that silver strip there. It lines up with the silver strip on this side. You're just going to insert that, push it into place, 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug in. Now, a lot of campsites, especially here in Manitoba, may not have this, so that's why we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter to go down to 30 amps. Just keep in mind, whenever you are using it, you're only able to run one air conditioner at a time. If you were to have that second one installed, you need that 50 amp service to run them both at the same time. And then of course, we do have a 15 amp standard household adapter to go down from that 30 inside your standard starter kit, which is located inside the front bumper, or inside the front storage compartment. Just keep it in mind, if you're using the 15 amp adapter, you're definitely not running any air conditioners at all. It's just realistically to run your fridge and your lights. Typically, sewer hose is going to be stored inside that bumper cap. It's typically the cleanest, least smelliest place to store it. That's why we store it in there. You get your satellite plugins, then of course your black tank flush. Just of course reading the caution sticker first is just letting you know that if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank, it's very important you have both the sewer hose connected and the black tank valve open. That way, as you're pushing pressure inside the tank, the pressure does have somewhere to go. Failure to do so would expand that tank possibly to the point of cracking. Gets pretty costly pretty quick. City water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. Pressurizes all those lines so it can use to run your water pump. And then if you come and look down below the floor here, you get that sewer cap, holding that on, twisting that off. Your sewer hose is gonna have the same ears. You're gonna have your black tank, which is right here, and your gray tank. You always wanna empty your black first. This is gonna be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with that gray tank, typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. For the black tank flush, I do recommend flushing out that tank after every use to just help keep things that little bit cleaner. Then you're gonna notice this is another one you're gonna wanna empty last, as it's a galley. This is just for your kitchen sink. Works the same way as the gray did. Fresh water connection, so if you're out boondocking or your campsite just doesn't have water, this is where you'd fill up your fresh tank. So either you're siphoning water in or pumping it in with a hose, either or, push it in there. And then right down below the floor, you get this little white valve. That is how you drain the tank. hot water service port. Pull that tab, open it up. Realistically, the only things you really need to worry about here is just this power switch. Turning that off disables power to the thermostat inside. Turning it on turns power to the thermostat on inside. Now, this is a tankless system, so it is a little bit different than your tanked system. If you had a trailer before, it probably had a tanked system. This system's different because there's no bypass valves when it comes time to winterization. You do just run antifreeze through it. Once you're completed your winterization process completely, you would just crack this pressure relief valve and leave it cracked open for the duration of winter. Inside here, it's going to be the other side of your storage compartment. Goes right through the other side. Special note with this side, this panel here, it's got 4 screws holding it in. That is where you get access to the water pump for winterization. Around the front of the trailer, you get your battery disconnect switch there on the wall. With that in the on position like it is now, batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position, the batteries would then become disconnected from the unit. In addition, the rest of the 12 volt as well. You get your battery inside that front box there. And you get your 2 propane tanks located underneath this cover. Typically, for day-to-day use, you could just loosen these tabs, push them out of the way, and get what you need done. But for the purpose of the video, and of course, if you have to change tanks, it is just as simple as pulling up on that cover, and the cover slides right out of the way. In that case, you got your selector valve with it pointed this way. You're obviously drawing off this tank counterclockwise like any standard barbecue to open up the flow of propane. Now, if this tank were to go dry, you do just have to close it, switch this over to the other side. You can then begin drawing off this tank, even if this tank isn't installed, because you went to go fill it up. You get your switch for the front power jacks as well. Inside here, you're gonna have a bunch of different stuff in here. You're gonna have your little water hose. So this is for an exterior shower. So if you follow me, come to this little port here, pull down on it, flip it towards you, take this end, insert it into there, click locked into place. Hot and cold water, sprayable hose. This is an interchange, this is your basic water hose thread. So if you didn't like this end or you broke it, you can just replace it with any one that you find. This is going to be a little tray that goes in our little area, which I'll show you. You get your starter kit located way back there in the front. You're going to have some manual override tools for your front tongue jack, as well as your stabilizer jacks. Now, located inside this compartment here is what they call a little exterior kitchen sort of deal. Pop that guy open. This, by the way, isn't magnetic. You do actually have to pull in the tab to unlock the door to come down. I know it looks magnetic, but it isn't. You get your 110 mini fridge here, so whenever you are hooked up to shore power, this will be running. But if you're not hooked up to shore power, it won't be running. Right here, pull on this guy. It's on a gas little assembly strut. This is where you would hook up your griddle, as well as that little sink that comes with it. The griddle goes on the right, the sink will obviously go on the left. The griddle will have a foot that unscrews in the back right corner. Screw it on from underneath to secure it down. You quick connect your propane hookup, come down below, and because you don't have to carry an extra tank around because Surveyor's got you covered, pull off the little dust cap like so, pull back on the collar like any standard airline. You'd then be able to insert the quick connect line. We're pre-plumbed right into the front tanks already. Opening up the flow of propane opens up the flow to the griddle, and it would fire up just like any standard barbecue. Now, as an added safety measure, you can't operate that coupler with the flow of propane open. You have to close it. It'll then allow you to operate the coupler. Whenever you're not using it, always making sure that you do put that dust cap back into place. It's going to stop any debris from getting inside the lines, causing you any grief. And now for the best part, to take a step on its side. But first, almost forgot, low point drains. They're both right there. Push up on the handle, fold it 90 degrees. It's going to lock into place. That'll allow you to open up your door. You need to have your door open all the way. You have the stairs down. Now that door is open all the way, pull on the tab for the stairs. The stairs will start coming towards you. You have adjustable clamps or feet for your stairs. You just have to pull up on that little black handle. It'll allow the feet to slide into its corresponding channels. The idea is for it to be sitting nice and level, and for this black plate to be sitting as close to your door catch plate as possible. That way, that door can open up nice and freely without binding against it. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. Now up on my wall to the left You get all your kind of controls a little bit. Interior light switch so you can see what you're doing. It turns on most of the main living space lights. Then you get your mood lighting, which turns on some backlighting behind your slide out. Porch light turns on a little porch light outside, and then of course the awning LED, which is right underneath the awning. Which brings me to the awning. To run it, just push and hold the extend button. The awning's going to start making its way out. Once that awning does reach its full extension, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. Sometimes the flap can get stuck, so you might just have to retract it a couple feet, put it back out again for it to come down. It's very important whenever you do put your awning out, you always keep in the back of your mind the wind speeds. Once the wind speeds start picking up, you're going to want to make sure you bring the awning in. It acts exactly like a wind sail. And it doesn't take much to rip your fabric or bend your arms. It's pretty costly, pretty quick. Now we're at your full extension because you can see that back of the metal tube. Now if we were to start bringing, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now if you like that angle better, this is going to allow for more shade underneath. You can do the same thing with the front arm. Just make sure that before you bring your awning in, you do pull these back to straight, natural resting position so it can come in nice and straight and even without any issues. And then to retract, it's as simple as holding the retract button. It's going to start rolling its way in. Once the arms do contact the side of the trailer, the cover will automatically cut out. Now, if you had to roll this in while it was wet because the storm rolled in, it's not the end of the world. Just try and remember it's your next earliest convenience to roll it back out and allow it adequate time to dry off. That way you don't accelerate the growth of mold or mildew on there, inside there. Again, these arms are now going to contact the side of the trailer and the motors will automatically cut out. Last but not least for that panel, anyways, you get your slide out controls. Now before you ever run your slide out, it's always a good measure to take a good peek between the slide out fascia and the wall. Make sure there's nothing that's going to get caught in between there causing any damage or wrecking any seals. I know it's sometimes hard, at least with this one you can walk right through and also see the other side. Things do tend to shift during travel. Again, you don't want to be causing yourself any more damage. And then once you do that, just make sure on the other side you have enough room to put it out without running it into anything. And if all that is good, you can just push and hold the out button. Slide out's going to start making its way out. It's always a good measure to do full strokes in or out if you can. Now that's obviously not always possible. We understand that, so it's just a suggestion. Now once the slide out does reach its full extensions, you're going to hear the motor wind up and then quit. Or just wind up and then you have to let off the button. Motor's clicked, you're now at your full extension. Now up on the wall you do get your 30 amp solar controller. We currently have it set up for your basic charging needs. If there's going to be a sun outside hitting the solar panel, it'll be applying a charge to your front battery. There's going to be a bunch of different settings you can go around and play with, but I will recommend going over the owner's manual for that. Inside the bathroom space, light switches on the left. It's your pretty standard bathroom. Above my head, you get your vent lid, works like any standard one. Pull down on it to unlock it, and then clockwise to open it up. You're going to notice there's already a cover up here. This customer already opted to go with. It's not only going to protect him against rain if he leaves it open, it's also going to allow him to forget it open during travel, not have to worry as much. And it's even an extra protection against hail. And then to close it up if you want, push it up, locks it into place. Other than that, pretty standard bathroom, minus the fact that there's some stuff going on inside here. You got your main GFI plug on the wall. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would look. Just making sure that that GFI system isn't tripped. You got a heated holding tank system inside here. Now that realistically is for just that 1 to 5 degree mark. If you're camping below -0, things are going to freeze. That is just the way it is. The heated holding tank system will help prevent it, but in our Manitoba winters, it's just not adequate enough to keep things warm and from not freezing. Monitor panel system, you push the button, it tells you the corresponding level. Water pump, turning that on, draws out of your fresh tank, and then you get your thermostat. Now, because this is a tankless system, it's operated off of flow, so as water flows through, it heats up. Now, the way you want to set this is you turn on the water heater switch over here, which turns this on. Double check that this is on just by pressing that button. So it's off, because if you push the up and down button, it doesn't do anything, but if you push it again, it now allows you to do something, so now it's on. Now, how you want to set this temperature is basically how you find the water the most comfortable with only the hot on. You don't want to have to blend the cold in at all, because once you do blend the cold, it throws off the flow. That's going to cause inconsistent temperatures as well as cold spots. None of us like that. So again, set this temperature exactly how you like it with just the hot on and kind of go from there. Turn it off whenever you're not using it. Other than that, again, it's your pretty standard bathroom, sink, toilet, stuff like that. Now into the main living space. Right beside the door, one thing I didn't show you is this just awesome pantry space with tons of storage. You even got a couple coat hooks on the wall. Tons of options you could put in there. Because this unit is equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If that guy does ever start going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit, open up some windows and vents, and get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Entertainment center, pretty self-explanatory, minus the fact that you have your zones on your sound bar. Zone 1 is inside speakers, zone 2 is outside speakers. Down below you got your fireplace, power button on the far right, the power button on the far left. The little light bulb changes your different light settings. And then you got your different fan options, and then you do have your different temperature options to where you can set it to. Power button again on the left to turn it off. It's going to run for an additional minute or two just to allow itself time to cool down. Storage all around there. Then taking a step into our kitchen area, you got your Furrion fridge, freezer combo. The controls for both are right down below. You got a charcoal filter in that far left corner. These are replaceable to help with fridge odors. We got replacement ones here at the shop. If you'd like to get set up with a couple of those, just contact the parts department again. Temperature control knob on the far right. Obviously, all the way to the right is going to be its coldest setting. It's also going to be what makes the fridge the coldest the fastest. You're going to notice some off-grid writing here. That's just letting you know the most energy efficient setting to run it on if you're running it off battery power. Right down below, you get your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. You have all your corresponding fuses on the right. It's going to be a good idea just to pick up a couple extra fuses. You never know when one can blow. It can happen at the most inconvenient times. Now our main kitchen space, microwave. Not much I'm going to show you there. It's just like home. You got your Furrion range hood. Always recommend running that range hood whenever you are running your stove. That way you're evacuating those propane fumes as you're creating them. It also just has a light cutting board at the back. Now I'm going to go over some propane notes since we are at the stove. Now whenever you turn your system off at the front, or especially disconnect one of the propane bottles, it does allow air into the system. Once air makes its way in, it does have to be purged out. I tell every customer this. It's crucial that when you first get to your campsite, you come to your stove and light it first thing. And the reason being is the quickest, simplest way to purge the system, because you get to decide how long you run the gas for and how many lighting sequences you try to go through. If you went to go try to fire up your furnace, your water heater, or anything else like that, and you didn't have the system purged, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times, and if they don't sense a flame, it will throw a fault code at you. And if you don't know what the fault code means, or you're not getting heat, or you're not getting something else turning on, you're probably going to be a little grumpy, understandably so. So again, just to eliminate any sort of purging issues, just come and light your stove first thing. It's going to light up pretty quick today just because I already had the system running earlier. Sometimes it could take a few minutes, so just be patient with it. But of course, because it's a gas stove, being safe while doing so, always hold your face further back. And if you're ever running one of the valves on, making sure that you're hitting the igniter every few seconds. That way, once propane does flow through, you don't have a bunch of it build up and a minor combustion, because if your face is close by, you're probably going to lose your eyebrows and eyelashes. None of us like that. So turning it over to the high/low option, pushing it in, you're going to see sometimes, again, it can take one or two tries, but once they light, they pretty well stay lit and you're good to go. Now to get the oven to light is pretty much the same thing. Of course, because this is a glass cover, being gentle with it and keeping in mind if you had this on for a longer period of time, you're going to want to make sure you allow it adequate time to cool off before you flip this down. Oven, same thing, but your gas orifice is down there over there on the right. So you're going to turn this knob over to the pilot option, push and hold the knob in, hold it in for about 10 seconds, and then start hitting that igniter. You're going to see that pilot lit. Now just keep it in mind, sometimes this can take even exceptionally longer than the stove just because the gas orifice for the pilot is so small. So be patient with it. Once you have that pilot able to light and stay lit on its own without you pushing it on the button, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. Next to it, you get your central vac system. if you pull on this tab here like so, that'll give you access to that bag. If you'd like to get more of those, again, contact your parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out. Sliding this to your right, you can insert then your tool, turn it on, vacuum out the unit. Let's say you had to sweep and you wanted to sweep everything into, lift it up, and it would suck it all in. Now just keep in mind when you are sucking things up through here, it goes into a bag, so it's realistically just for dust, dirt, gravel, things like that. You're not going to be wanting to suck up any sticks or anything too big, because again, it does all go into a bag. Other than that, it's pretty much the rest, just the kitchen. There's going to be tons of accent lighting throughout here. You're going to find it as you use the unit. The buttons are on their own center push buttons. You can find them and discover them as you can. Now, this customer did opt to go with a crazy inverter setup, which is located down below here. So you're going to have a big inline fuse there that goes to your front battery. So if you ever have a problem with this, it might be a good idea to give it a check that fuse didn't blow. There's also a couple reset breakers here at the back just for those 15 amp services. So if one of your 15 ampers don't work and you checked your GFI and that's not tripped, might not hurt to just take a peek behind here. You'll see it depressed. If it's not tripped, it will be flush. So that's something you can take a peek at under there. And then on the wall here, A, you have your light switch for your bedroom. B, you got your inverter controller. Charger on off, that's something you're going to probably want to leave on all the time, because if you turn this off while you're plugged into shore power, you're no longer charging your battery. With this on and you're plugged into shore power, you're charging your battery. Now this inverter one, the inverter is what's going to convert your 12 volt power to usable 120 power. I only recommend leaving that on whenever you're actually using it. So if you're hooked up to shore power, you probably don't have to have it on. Thermostat on the left, push and hold it. Sorry. I'm gonna have to double check why that's not working. Probably something simple I'm missing, but you would just hold it and it's like any standard household thermostat. Fan setting is the biggest thing you need to remember. I always recommend leaving it in the auto settings, so then it's an on-demand system. So if you have your cool setting set at 65 degrees and the room is 70, the air conditioner will run consistently until the room reaches 65, and then it'll automatically kick out. If you had it on either high or low, the air conditioner fan is going to run continuously until you actually manually turn it off. When you go to switch over to heat, it's even more important to have that auto setting on, because otherwise your air conditioner fan, again, is going to continue running even once your furnace fires up. And although it's not cooling the air, it is kind of defeating the purpose a little bit. That's pretty much it for that. And then last but not least, taking a step into the bedroom, keeping in mind, you got this travel strap here. It is there for a reason, so that this door can't travel freely, slamming around, damaging things. So before you travel, just double check that you do have that latched. And then inside the bedroom, it's pretty standard. You got a little cubby spaces at the back there, which do have some plugins. You also have plugins at the front here. And then if you pick up at the foot of the bed, you do get a nice big storage space up front. That's where you're going to find your special vac tools. And then you get these nice drawers for any sort of clothes or shoes or anything you want to put in there. Other than that, use the storage at your freedom. Just keeping in mind it drains water lines and things like that. All the blinds in the unit are going to work the same way. They're just going to kind of sit where you leave them. Then one quick pull will allow them to retract back up. And now in our slide out area, it's pretty self-explanatory. Let's say you had some extra guests you weren't planning on. You could just remove your feet from underneath your tabletop here, set your tabletop on its desired ledges, and then you can take your back cushions to fill in the center and you'd have yourself another bed. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.